take a ride. You ain't gotta say a word, just slide inside. It's time to take your ass on another kind of trip, cause you ain't at the top if you don't got the shit. Grab some chips and a drink to sip and close your eyes and hit that switch. We're going to a place where everybody kick it, kick it, kick it. Yeah, Blitzalytics. Ain't no friends and there ain't no simping, cause there ain't no team about to catch me tripping. Do you gotta get a stack or a third tier back? We got you covered all season to the ship from the draft. Take you to a place where you get that win, give you more than enough to defeat your friends. If you can't take the heat, get your ass out the kitchen. We on a mission. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, slippity slide. When it's all up on the line, we can ease your mind. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, who ride? If you want to get the dub, you gotta tune in live. You are now watching Fantasy Voyage, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here are your hosts, Cody Manning and Rob. Welcome in. This is new, right? So welcome into the first episode of Fantasy Voyage presented by Blitzalytics.com. I'm Rob. Rob, you can see my man over here. Cody Manning also joining me here. If you guys have been tuning into the fantasy football hot seat, well, we decided that it just didn't get hot enough, right? When the show started, it was all argumentative and we were going to pick topics and argue. Well, that's not what it ended up being. So Cody and I decided it was time to switch it up a little bit. So we are now taking you on a fantasy voyage, hopefully to some championships. I know we had some listeners get some last year. We had an insane hit rate last year. Let's see if we can keep that up for you. But let me start by welcoming in that guy there, Cody Manning. How you doing, bud?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back talking football with you, fantasy football. I was talking about it before the show. Just one of my favorite shows to do. Woke up early for it. I never have a problem waking up to do the show with you, Rob. And football's back tomorrow, and I'm ready to do the show. And before we kind of dive into it, if I can get the floor really quick, kind of explain
it's yours, man.
The idea. All right, yeah. So if anybody was with us last year, this format is going to be pretty similar to how we did it in 2019. Like Rob said, we're just not too like we'll get into it over players. We do have differences on players, like maybe like a Noah, for example. Fant, he's not a big Noah Fant guy, for example. But what we'll do is every week we're going to do this live Wednesday mornings between about 10 to 11. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you do know when we go live. We'll do studs and duds from the previous week. Obviously, there's no studs and duds for this week, so that section won't be around until next Wednesday, unfortunately. As our past listeners probably know, I'm a waiver wire guy. I like to go search the waivers. It's very hard to talk me into a trade, as Rob knows. He's tried so millions of times,
for years,
and I don't think
years. I don't think we've ever traded.
Yeah, and it's really I just trust my drafting and trust my waiver wire ability. So I'm gonna do the waiver claims just like last year: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, flex. Rob, you can explain. You're more of a trade guy, so that's the next section.
I am. I even go into my draft with trades in mind. Like late rounds, I'm like, ooh, if I get this guy and this guy, maybe I package him to this guy to move somebody. Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm down to flip my whole roster.
And that showed where we're doing our Blitz 16-team league. Rob wanted a certain running back. He's like, I wish I could trade up right now with you to get him. Yeah, and then me and Rob would do our starts and sits every week. And then also I do my streamable defenses. If you guys listen to the last episodes of the Fantasy Football Hot Seat, our division previews, I was already talking about defenses that you could draft to help you out week one. We'll do that. And then if you guys are on our YouTube channel, you hit us up with questions, any fantasy-related questions. I am going to have that monitored. And me and Rob can address any type of questions at the end of the episode. So I guess, are we ready to do this, Rob?
Man, I guess we might as well go ahead and jump into this again. This normally where we'll stick the studs and duds section. Now the only studs in the room are me and this guy Cody. There's no dud here, baby. So this will be where you'll see studs and duds next week, of course. But since not, let's go ahead and start with the next segment. Boom, boom, boom. I don't have any drops. That's just whatever. I didn't have time. So we're gonna go ahead and get to the waiver claims for Cody. You can see him there now, lonely on the screen without my beautiful face. His is prettier anyway. So we're gonna hit him with the waiver claims. As it says here, it's per Yahoo, rostered in less than 50% of the leagues is the rule he lives by. So I turn it over to you, man. Who's your top waiver claims?
Yeah, and this first guy I'm going to talk about, I don't know if you wanted to do a beat drop for, because a lot of people are indifferent about this guy. But I'm going with the waivers on quarterbacks was actually a lot thinner than I thought. But I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins. He's only rostered on 38% of the leagues on Yahoo. And the reason why is we saw last year he did have a slow start to his season. But then we saw him get on a very hot streak, and he's capable of having those, 3+ touchdown games a week, just depending on the matchup. So he's just a guy to watch. I still think he's going to be able to put up numbers this season. He still has Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Kyle Rudolph, Irv Smith Jr., Olabisi Johnson. And Dalvin Cook can take a screen to that. I'm not saying go ahead and get him and put him on your bench. I'm just saying let's see how that offense looks in week 1 against the Packers. And maybe if you are kind of iffy on your quarterback position, maybe he's somebody you can add to your bench. My running back waiver wire ad is Chris Thompson down in Jacksonville. I know the young cat got the lead. What's his name? James Robinson. And he'll probably maybe get like more touches on the first 2 downs than Thompson. But Chris Thompson's a receiving back. He has a history with Jay Gruden. And even though he technically might not be the starter, I'm not going to be surprised if by the end of the game against Indy on Sunday, if he does have the majority of the touches out of that backfield.
Right, and I wanted to talk to you about this too, because a lot of people are worried about who's starting in Jacksonville. He wasn't the starter in Washington and was fantasy relevant whenever he was on the field. So the 41% ownership is a little bit baffling to me that he's available in 41% still. So again, worry about roles right now and not who's the starting running back. Like that to me is just too broad of a topic.
And just add on to that, that's a young Jacksonville defense that's probably going to struggle. This whole team, in my belief, is going to struggle this year. So that means they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. They're probably going to be down in a lot of games, and that means he'll be the back out there, probably getting. I wouldn't be surprised he's getting like 6 to 7 receptions plus a game. Plus
every down's going to be a passing down in Jacksonville this year.
Exactly. And then my wide receiver ad, I already kind of brought up his name when I talked about Kirk Cousins, is Justin Jefferson. He's owned in 49% of leagues, so he's just underneath my 50% requirement. And the reason why I bring him up is, Stephon Diggs left a bunch of targets. Now, I do think some of those targets are going to go to Irv Smith's way, but, Justin Jefferson has a pathway to immediate production right out the gate. So I think he's a guy that should definitely be on people's benches, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's filling in that wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 spot on your starting lineup at some point this year. So if you're weak at the wide receiver spot, I would consider adding him to your bench this week. My tight end is my boy Jack Doyle. He's only owned in 28% of the leagues. Phillip Rivers has a history of looking towards the tight ends. I know the Indy will be leaning on. We already know what I'm getting at is we already know T.Y. Hilton is the number 1 guy in that offense. We're going to see if anybody like Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman Jr., they still have Zach Pascal, will maybe compete to be the number 2 in targets, but maybe that guy actually might be Jack Doyle. He's been more than a fantasy contributor before. He's been somebody you can rely upon to at least get that minimum out of the tight end position. And I'm very surprised he's only owned in 28% leagues. He does have a injury history that you do have to have a concern of. But if he stays healthy, I would not be surprised if he gets over that 50% mark by the end of this month. I would not be surprised. My flex ad of the week is Preston Williams. He's a young wide receiver out of Miami. We saw him produce no matter if it was Fitzpatrick or Josh Rosen in the quarterback position last year before he went down off the torn ACL. He's only owned in about 41% of the leagues. In Miami, I still think they got some room to grow as a team. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're playing a lot of catch up. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. Fitzpatrick has to start on Sunday. He's not afraid to put the ball up in the air. And it's only him and Devontae Parker. I know they traded for Lynn Bowden, and he's going to play the wide receiver role in Miami, but he still has to play catch up in that offense. So I think there's a pathway. He's going to get tons of targets, and he could end up being a quality wide receiver too at some point this year. So those are my waiver ads of the week: Kirk Cousins, Chris Thompson, Justin Jefferson, Jack Doyle, and Preston Williams.
I mean, I love those names. I'm actually super surprised, again, Chris Thompson available in so many leagues. And Justin Jefferson as well, 50% ownership. I know he's a rookie, but he's probably the most polished rookie coming in. So I don't get where people don't see these targets that Steph left behind going to someone. And I'm with you. I get it's going to go to tight end, but this kid's going to have plenty of opportunities. 50% ownership is insane. So let's go ahead, and I'll tell you what, like Cody said, I am a trade target guy, so I'm going to hit you with my trade targets here. And again, these are going to be a little iffy. It's first week. Everybody thinks they drafted perfectly. It's one of those things. It's going to be very hard to peel anybody off of the team. So these are just some options. I'm even going to give you a little bit of help at what you might try and weasel that guy off a team. First one I want to talk about is going to be Nick Chubb. I love the guy, but that Kareem Hunt signing news came through, and I noticed on NFL Twitter some of these guys start sweating, talking about roll. Oh my gosh, does that mean Kareem's going to get enough? Or blah, blah, blah. Did I overpay for Nick Chubb? The odds of you getting Nick are slim to none. I'm going to be honest with you. Very, very small. It is definitely worth trying to do that. I would try, for example, one guy for sure, and I'm probably going to get roasted for this on Twitter here in a little bit, but I'm not sold on Fournette in Tampa Bay right now. I am sold on Nick Chubb. I am sold on there being plenty of work in Cleveland for both him and Kareem Hunt to eat. I would try and move Leonard Fournette. While the name is hot, the Tampa Bay offense seems untouchable. I wouldn't be moving that direction to try and maybe parlay a Leonard Fournette into a Nick Chubb or Melvin Gordon type player, who I'll talk about again here in a second. But obviously, if you can get Nick Chubb, go get Nick Chubb. Number 2 on my list is, I don't know, Cody. You might be able to tell me if he was available in more percentage of leagues than I gave it credit for, because I was surprised Justin Jefferson to be available at that percentage. But Van Jefferson, don't let the world see what the Rams have with him before you go out and get him. I have a feeling he's going to be an important piece here. I think he's going to get more touches than Reynolds did last year, plus some. I think he's going to end up being the number 2 guy here at the end of the year, because inevitably Cooper Kupp seems to miss some time. I don't see us re-signing him, so I don't see us making this giant push to force the ball into Cooper Kupp's hands. Sure, he's going to get his. Sure, he's fantasy reliable. But a guy like Van Jefferson is somebody I want on my team as the season goes through, because if for some reason Kupp or Woods goes down, I see a big explosion from Van Jefferson. And if I'm you, I start with whatever you think is the worst wide receiver or running back on your roster and offer it to somebody and work up from there. But again, Cody, was he available in a lot of leagues and I'm missing it? Because I didn't expect Jefferson to be available that much.
I don't have it up in front of me right now. I was actually kind of on my way there while you were talking. But I would guess that depending, if you're talking about home leagues, I don't think he's a home league type of name right now. And and I'm telling you, if you're a dynasty owner, a dynasty player, get Van Jefferson on your team. We talked about him last night when we talked about the prospect encyclopedia on the NFC West players for your Rams, and like you said, man, Cooper Kupp's contract is up after the end of the year. They're kind of somewhat similar players as far as their route running ability, so he's going to probably take over that role.
Yeah,
at some point.
And you're not forcing it down Cooper's. It's Van Jefferson is going to be a natural fit in this offense. So whether it's via trade or if he is available in your league, either way, go grab him, stash him at the back of your lineup. Maybe you don't start him this week. You want to see what you got. But I think by the end of the season, that's going to be a shrewd move. Third one here on my list, Marlon Mack, I even had to message Cody last night. I'm thinking about putting Marlon Mack on here. What's your feelings? So I went to the Colts insider here, the big time fan of the Colts. And it's going to be the same reason as Van Jefferson. I would like to get my hands on Marlon Mack prior to the world seeing again what his full role is. There's questions because JT is a stud. I project him to win Rookie of the Year. I've said it multiple times across multiple pods. But even with Taylor there, Marlon Mack is going to have a role. You saw it with Phillip Rivers in San Diego and then Los Angeles. I wish we could just say San Diego. Sorry, Chargers guys. But that he will get the ball to that pass-catching back. Marlon Mack does that. He's lightning in a bottle. I love the kid, and I think he'll carve out a role. I'm not saying he's going to end up as your RB2, or if that's your RB2, you're comfortable. But bench flex depth, I'm going all in on a Marlon Mack because I think you can get him for something fairly cheap. I would rather have Marlon Mack than Adrian Peterson. I would put Marlon Mack near the same category as a Chris Thompson. Probably either back in New England. Again, going to get roasted for that because it's Sony Michel and Damian Harris, and they're better, but I don't really think they're that much better. I don't really think they're that much better options on a week-to-week basis. And again, Marlon Mack seems like a guy who's going to get a role, and should anything happen, that role is just going to exponentially increase. So Marlon Mack, number 3. Number 4 for me, Phillip Lindsay, a guy I've never had on a fantasy team. Not once. Since he's been not one fantasy team have I ever had Phillip Lindsay. I think I'm going to change that this year and get some shares. I'm not sold on Melvin Gordon, and I'll ask Cody for his opinion in a second. But Lindsay's already surprised you once before and took this job a couple years back. So don't be surprised when he does it again. I think you get him for a 5th, 6th, 7th tier wide receiver, maybe like a Sammy Watkins, Corey Davis, Randall Cobb kind of name, unless the owner shares the opinion that it's not Gordon's gig. But there's 3 running backs there, so a lot of people are sweating over roles. Melvin Gordon went highest in the draft, and I'm not sold on him again. Cody, what do you think about Gordon with the Broncos? I think there's a 50-50 shot this is Lindsay's the lead back here.
Based on reports that I've heard, it is going to be like a hot hand 50-50. That's what I've heard so far. Again, though, I brought this up. Melvin Gordon brought it up himself that he's going to be more comfortable in this running scheme because it relates to how the scheme that he ran at Wisconsin. So maybe that's going to help him find holes better because he does have that home run ability. But I totally understand if you want to make the trade for him because there is the upside of him being the starting back or getting majority of the touches out of the backfield. But I do think it's going to be I think it's going to be like a 50-50 type thing throughout the year. So.
That's still perfect, though. Even if it's 50-50, the value at which you're going to peel Lindsay off is much cheaper than what you cost to draft Melvin Gordon or what it would cost on name value alone to peel him off the team. So, again, Phillip Lindsay, target him for me. I wouldn't give a whole lot. Like, if they really want true value and you're talking about your 3rd or 4th running back, depending on who it is, I'd probably just stay home and deal with that. You drafted, so you're comfortable with that guy. But I would try to move a lower-end guy. Maybe I went wide receiver heavy in my draft. That's a running back I think you can go out and grab fairly cheaply that could make an impact. And the last one is Tyler Boyd. I do not get what the rest of the fantasy community doesn't get. Tyler Boyd's going to be a stud this year. His value's been suppressed, but personally, again, keep this in mind, and this is coming from an AJ Green fan, get his ass before AJ Green gets hurt again and you cannot afford Tyler Boyd. First couple weeks, every single day, send out a trade request to get Tyler Boyd because unfortunately, knowing AJ Green's history, he's missed half his time over the last 3 years. Tyler Boyd, even with AJ Green, may be the number 1 receiver there, Cody. Is that crazy to think that Tyler Boyd, even with a healthy AJ Green, he might be the number 1 receiver there? Burrow doesn't have a built-in relationship with AJ like the Red Rocket did.
Yeah, he's probably going to get a lot of looks because he's going to work inside the slot, and that's where Joe Burrow thrived last year. He was working inside the slot to guys like the guy we talked about earlier, Justin Jefferson. So I think he's going to look towards Boyd's way, and I mean, here's the thing too. AJ Green's healthy, and say you got T Higgins out there as well, or even an Auden Tate. Those are like two bigger body guys. So like when they go down the field, they're gonna get more attention. I feel like, and that's gonna open up things in the middle for Tyler Boyd.
Yes.
So I think he has a potential to be a PPR machine.
I do too. I think he's just going to stack up receptions in this offense. So, again, those are going to be your 5 targets: Nick Chubb, Van Jefferson, and again, check waiver wires for Van Jefferson, Marlon Mack, Phillip Lindsay, Tyler Boyd. Those are my targets. Again, let's try and send these deals in tonight for some of these guys before the world gets to see their roles. So, let's move into our starts and sits here. There's the button. And now you see us both. Yay. Hi.
Hey, I'm back.
We're going to hit you with starts and sits just like we did last season. I'm going to have him go quarterback, I'll go quarterback, and we'll bounce back and forth rather than just give all of them. So, Cody, I'm going to start with you with your quarterback start and sit.
I'm going to go with the quarterback of the team of the football happy hour. That's Josh Allen.
Boom, baby.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a prime matchup to put up some numbers to start the season hot. The Bills are playing the Jets. They have one of the weaker secondaries in the entire league. Their linebacker core is bad, and they have Quinton Williams up front, but he's in the middle. So I see tons of potential for Diggs to not only get points through the air. I think he's going to be able to get you a high floor this week because of his legs and his ability to run and stretch out plays. I think he's going to be a QB1 this week in fantasy football. My sit of the week is Baker Mayfield. If anybody was thinking about streaming him this week, I would avoid it. They are playing the Baltimore Ravens, and if I remember correct, I believe that is in Baltimore, so that is a game on the road. I know it's a little bit different this year with no fans being there, and I believe Baltimore, for at least the first 2 games, I want to say they're one of the teams that aren't having fans at the game, which honestly I don't know.
The defense is stingy regardless of who's in the stands.
Yeah, exactly. They got a stout defense. They added Calais Campbell. They got Patrick Queen through the draft. He's going to fly over the field. And they got 3 really great cornerbacks in the secondary, and Chuck Clark's a very solid safety. So I think they're going to make life difficult on Baker Mayfield to open up the season. So I would avoid trying to play him this week.
Yeah, I'm in agreement on both of those. Baker scares the shit out of me on most weeks. He definitely does against the Ravens defense. And Josh Allen, I feel like Josh Allen's going to get you minimum 60, 80 rushing yards in this game. I don't know why. I have a gut feeling 6 to 8 rushing, another 10 through the air. You're starting with an 18-point buffer and then throw in some touchdowns, man. It's going to be an insane. Josh Allen is Lamar Jackson light to me. So you get all the perks without having to pay the, like off-brand cereal, right? That's not necessarily Captain Crunch, but it's close enough for me. So, yeah, Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield from Cody. Mine are going to be Ben Roethlisberger's my start of the week. It's the Giants. They're going to give up some points. Ben hasn't played in a while, wants to shut some people up. You know he's a diva. You know he cares what people think and say about him because it's just what he does. He's going to come out and show you he's still Ben. I think you can clock 4 or 5 touchdowns out of Ben just to prove he's back. They're going to run the score up. Even if they're up big, you're not pulling him. You're going to let him get comfortable. You're going to show off the machine because that offense at times with Duck Hodges last year and Senior get smacked in the face with a helmet was not moving very well. I think Ben comes in and shows you that he's that good. So 4 to 5 touchdowns from Big Ben. My sit of the week is a guy I've been high on. It's Drew Lock, but it's the Titans defense too, which scares the mess out of me. They were good before they added Jay Clown. Now Jay Clown's coming to town to make your life more of a living hell. I want to see what it looks like before I start Drew Lock. It's one of those things like if you only have Drew Lock, you can start him, hope that maybe there's some trash balls thrown and he just gets a couple lucky, but I don't think the Titans are giving up a buttload of points. I'm sitting Drew Lock. So let's move back to Cody for his running backs, and I like your answer here for the sit.
Yeah, so my start is Raheem Mostert against the Cardinals. The reason why I bring him up is just because I think that I think the Cardinals have some pieces there where they can potentially be solid this year, but I think there's going to be ability to run the ball against the Cardinals defense, especially during week 1. And I think he's going to have a monster game. They gave him that new contract where he's got incentives, so I think he's going to get the majority of the touches to start the season. I know I talked about in the summer with my concern about Mostert is longevity as him as a starter,
Right.
because of how all the running backs in that backfield. So, I mean, I'm more than likely you probably drafted him in the first like 6 to 7 rounds, and you might want to just get your value now. So you should just start him, and just see where it goes.
Might as
So
well.
you better play him now, right? Exactly. And then my sit is like Rob kind of alluded to, is any Lions running back.
Yeah, all of them. Just all of them. No,
Yeah,
don't play
yeah,
none of them.
They're going against the Chicago Bears. They have Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack up front, Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan as linebackers. So they're going to be able to like be a pretty solid running defense. And then also we just don't know how that running backfield is going to work out between DeAndre Swift, Kerryon Johnson. I know AP is a late ad, but it's AP. He's kind of like a Debo at this point, where he's like, "Yo, you're going to give me some touches.
You will let me
Like,
play." Yeah.
yeah. So I need to see that play out before I know which Lion running back we can lean on yet. So I'm willing to I'd be willing to bench any Lion running back this week.
Yeah, I mean, you probably did. Hopefully, you left the draft where none of those guys were your one guy anyway. So hopefully, you're just switching around some flex movement here. But no, I'm with you. No Lions. 0 Lions running backs going for me. The start for me, I'm going to go Homer. You're going to feel great here, Cody, because it's Jonathan Taylor versus the Jags, giving up 26 points per game to the position last year and got worse. Who's stopping the run in Jacksonville? I'll wait while the birds chirp because there's nobody left. I'm actually comfortable enough to say you could probably flex Marlon Mack here too. The Jags are just going to give up points in droves, I believe, to the running back position. They did last year. They got worse. This is a good backfield. This is the best offensive line in football. Give me both of those. I'm taking that and running to the bank with it. My sit is former Jacksonville Jaguar Leonard Fournette versus the Saints, who were super stingy against the run last season. I think they were second fewest to the running back position in 2019. What was that? It was a crazy stat. Like, how many of the stretch game without a 100-yard rusher? It was long. They don't do it. They don't let running backs eat. Or feast at least. And I'm still not sold on what Fournette's role is going to be here. I don't think I can roll out him this week and do it comfortably against a good Saints defense. So start Jonathan Taylor, sit Leonard Fournette for me. Let's jump into your wide receivers here, Cody.
Yeah, so my wide receiver is I'm sticking with the happy hour. I'm rolling it in from last night. The team of the happy hour with Buffalo Bills. I'm going with Stephon Diggs. If anybody had some concerns about wanting to wait and see how he meshes with Josh Allen, but this matchup is too juicy. He's one of the more efficient route runners in the league, and he's going as the best cornerback they have is Pierre Desir. And Pierre Desir can kind of struggle with the shifty route runners. And I think he's going to have potential to have those bomb touchdowns with Josh Allen this week. I think with them giving up a first-round pick, they're going to want to feature him in week 1. I wouldn't be surprised if he has over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns on Sunday.
Doesn't it feel like the Bills are going to use this like those big college schools when they play the little college schools? Like, it's an ass whooping game. You're just going to do it to get ready for that's exactly what Bills Jets feels like to me.
Yes, exactly. And my sit of the week is some of you might have drafted high, and you're probably usually how it is if you draft a player in probably the first 5 to 6 rounds. More than likely, you're going to play them week 1 just because it's week 1 and you already have invested value or invested interest into that player. But my guy's Amari Cooper, and he's a player that I am a fan of, but we all know.
So you can see why. There we go, baby. That's right, right here.
Yeah, and I got a couple reasons. We already know, I mean, as great as Amari Cooper can be, he is kind of a streaky wide receiver, and he also has dealt with injuries throughout his career. He's been dealing with, I don't know exactly, I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's been dealing with something in camp. And then speaking of what Rob just flashed his hat, their number one highest paid cornerback that just got paid right before me and Rob went live, Jalen Ramsey. He's a man-to-man corner. I would not be surprised if they stick Jalen Ramsey on Cooper. And if Cooper's already kind of dealing with being banged up, I think this could be one of those games where you see him very limited. You're one of the games he pisses you off because he's in your lineup and he's got you like 3 catches for 50 yards, maybe at best.
This is the first game with Jalen Ramsey happy about a contract in 3 years? Jalen's gonna show out, bro. He's just gonna he got the Brinks Brinks truck. Yeah, Jalen's gonna be happy, and it's not going to be a happy day in turn for Amari Cooper. I love that call. My start of the week, Juju Smith-Schuster again. Same thing with Ben. This is going to be a prove-it game. The Giants gave up 41 points per game to the position last year. Didn't do anything to get better. Again, this to me feels like it could be a point fest for most Pittsburgh players. I'm going to say Juju safely finishes in the, I'll say top 5 to top 8 at the position after this week. I love it. He looks yoked. The guy looks huge. He looks to be in great shape. And again, his numbers down last year, I think, were more about the play of the quarterback than the play of Juju, plus some injury that piled up on him. A lot of people out of the Juju bandwagon. I am not one of them. Start that man. Get all the points you can this week. My sit, Jerry Jeudy, Tennessee. Again, defense is legit. There's no preseason. They have 3 capable running backs, 2.5 capable running backs with Royce Freeman, excuse me. But I think they lean very run heavy here. I don't see Jerry Jeudy having a huge game. I think if it has to go to anybody, receiving wise, I'm looking at Cortland Sutton. I'm looking at Noah Fant. And then I think I'm going probably Phillip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon as the next 2 important ones. So we're talking about 5th, 6th down the list. First week of the season. No preseason. This is not the week to me for Jeudy. Now, there will be weeks. I'm not saying it's an indication of the player. It's just situationally. So my start, Juju Smith-Schuster. Sit, Jerry Jeudy. We'll hit it up here with the tight ends and finish up this start sit. So whenever you're ready, Mr. Manning.
Yeah, so my start of the week, this is the one that's going to make you mad after I got you happy, is Blake Jarwin against the Rams. And I think Blake Jarwin is especially for people that stream tight ends, I think this could end up being a sneaky stream play this week. Kind of going back to what I said, I think Ramsey's going to stick on Cooper. So what that, in my opinion, is going to mean is that the defense is probably going to end up focusing on a Michael Gallup and a CeeDee Lamb, how to get more eyes on them. So I think that's going to open up things for Blake Jarwin. And then, I'm sorry, Rob, but the Rams probably have the worst linebacker corps in the NFL.
Trash.
And I would not be surprised with the Cardinals getting Isaiah Simmons. I would not be surprised if the Rams are the team to play a tight end against this year once we get the data.
I'm not going to argue that. I think you're 100% right. I think it's target tight end versus Rams season here. There's nobody in the middle, man.
Yeah, I firmly believe that. So I think Blake Jarwin's a sneaky play at the tight end position this week. And my sit, I don't know if Jack's already up there in Mississippi and watching right now. He might be upset. But I'm going Rob Gronkowski. I need to see how this offense is going to look. They already have 3 tight ends they could play. I think he might be more of a red zone guy. Maybe he gets out there on 3rd and longs to help move the chains. I just need to see his role. And also, too, I think when he's out there, you're going to see my man, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I guess who I should be saying CD Deuce.
CD Deuce, love the name change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so wait, is that, do you mean CD Deuce? You mean...
Don't do it. I already thought about it.
I mean, OBJ.
No, yeah. I already thought about that as soon as I said it.
I think that joke is good for another 4 hours at least. So
So yeah, I think he's kind of a slot corner, like hybrid nickel. He can play all
Right.
over in the defense, and I think he has what it takes to maybe stick on a guy like Gronk. And I wouldn't be surprised with it being Gronk's first game back. It's a rival game. You know that New Orleans defense is going to give him some shots. See if he can handle the first full game back. Maybe he might have to be on the sideline after a good shot from Demario Davis or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
So yeah, that's my. Yeah, I'm just hesitant to play Rob Gronkowski in Week 1.
I am too. Like, it feels like he's not gonna. We have to finish up the current draft, but he's not gonna end up on any of my fantasy rosters when all is said and done. But it feels like people are just expecting him to be old Gronk, and like I could roll him out if nobody, I didn't love anybody streaming, I could roll him against the Saints. But I would definitely temper expectations. And these people who are talking about like he's Gronk from 4 years ago, that's we're past that, man. Like, they've got too much weaponry. Yeah, I'm with you. It's definitely sketchy, especially considering what people think they're getting out of Gronkowski. My start at the position is Hayden Hurst, and there's only one reason why. Because if you drafted the guy and you're ever going to start him, it's going to be the matchup to do it. Seahawks gave up 15 points per game to the position last year. Falcons are still in transition. I think Gurley has a good season, but I'm not sure what it looks like early on. Matt Ryan just targets the tight end. That's just what he does. So Hayden's going to get one. And again, this is more of a, if he's on your roster, you better play him now, or the Rams, obviously, because, whatever. But I don't know if the Falcons play. I don't think the Falcons play the Rams this year. So this might be the best matchup you have for him. Go ahead and get him out there. And if he doesn't perform, I would look to move on, because if he can't do it in juicy matchups, he's going to do it in crap ones. Sit of the week is Austin Hooper versus the Ravens. Funny how that one worked. The Ravens were super stingy, only 7.5 points per game. I don't know what exactly Cleveland's going to do to score. It's going to be up in the air. Running backs, hopefully. I took Kareem Hunt, so hopefully Kareem Hunt gets some run. But Austin Hooper sit, Hayden Hurst start. Not really happy with those two names, but Cody took the good ones, so whatever. I just had to make do. We have another couple segments left here, but before we get into that, I do want to hit you guys with this quick commercial again. Check out the book. We've been talking about it now for months, the 2020 Prospect Encyclopedia. My boy Cody wrote in it. I did all the pictures. And then, we've got Roy, we've got Jack, we've got David, all the names you come to know and love here with Blitzalytics writing in it. So check this out, and we'll be right back and finish up the show.
For over 100 years, the story has been written, ever changing and growing with each new chapter. The soul remains, though the characters change. Bigger, faster, stronger, smarter.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide.
So too grows our fandom. Start miles ahead. The 2020 Prospect Encyclopedia. This September, available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and Blitzalytics.com.
Whoa. Welcome back to Fantasy Voyage. And right before we get out of here, we've got a couple more segments. We are going to hit you with, again, I've said it all last season, the most important portion of this show here. We are going to have Cody hit you with his top 5 streaming defenses. So, Mr. Manning, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, so as everybody knows, I do never really hold on to a defense. I'm not afraid to even drop a good defense to pick up a streamable matchup, and I'll play the game. So yeah, I'm back here to give you your top 5 streamable defenses. I hope you listened to me during the summer and you drafted one of these 5 defenses. But number 1, if they're still available, Colts versus Jaguars. I brought it up earlier. I don't think the Jaguars are going to do much on their offense this year. I think they really are going to struggle. The Colts have a underrated defense between DeForest Buckner, Justin Houston coming off the edge. They have Darius Leonard in the middle, and they have a quality, good secondary. So I see sack potential. I see potential turnovers. So I think they're the high floor defense this week. My number 2, Bills versus the Jets. Like we were talking about earlier, just as bad as the Jets defense is, that offense doesn't offer much. Outside, maybe a Le'Veon Bell or the tight end Chris Herndon. Not much going on there. I don't even think they're going to have Brashard Perryman or Denzel Mims this week. I have not heard if they've returned to practice yet. So they have limited
slaughtered, dude.
Yeah. And then on top of that, the Bills have they have playmakers on all 3 levels of that defense. So I think the Bills are a really great streamable defense this week. My number 3 option, Eagles versus
still looks
football
stupid
team.
as shit in the script. This still. I'm sorry. This still looks stupid.
No, it's funny because I was like looking it up on. I was looking at the NFL schedule, looking at defenses, and I was like, it really says football team, and I'm just going to ride with it. So, yeah, Eagles versus football team. Yes, Washington football team. Yeah, I mean, Washington's offense, I mean, it really doesn't have much. We don't know if Dwayne Haskins is going to be their guy. No really tight ends. They have Scary Terry. That's about it as far as proven wide receivers. We'll see how those young running backs can perform there. And the Eagles got a great defense. They got Darius Slay. I think Javon Hargrave should be back in their front 4. So I think the Eagles are going to be able to potentially get some turnovers in this matchup. And they've always kind of been a sneaky good streamable team in the past years where they'll have those blow up weeks. And I think this could be a blow up week for Philadelphia. And my number 4 streamable defense is the Lions against the Bears, just because Mitchell Trubisky got the start. I brought it up, I think, on my Cody Talks NFL first episode, that I think the Bears are really capped as far as an offense this year. I don't really think they're going to be able to push the ball down the field, move the ball that much to get points on the board. Lions they got some good pieces in that defense where they can get sacks, they can get potential turnovers. So I think the Lions could be a nice little streamable defense this week. My number 5, it pained me to put him on there because I think I'm very excited about what Joe Burrow is going to do this year, but I did put the Chargers versus the Bengals. The Bengals offensive line, we got to see how that works in the first week. It'll be Jonah Williams' first game back. And then you're talking about Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa going against that offensive line. And then they got really good cornerbacks in there. And as well as their linebacker core with the addition of Kenneth Murray is very good. And I think we brought it up in the summer, Rob, where Andrew Luck, his first game against the Bears, I think he threw like 2 or 3 pick sixes, and he still went on to have a great rookie year. So I think maybe the first game we might see an up and down performance from Joe Burrow. So I think that's a good streamable defense this week. So we got Colts versus Jaguars, Bills versus Jets, Eagles versus football team, Lions versus Bears, and Chargers versus Bengals.
I'm not mad at any of those. I'm with you. The Chargers one feels good to me. Even I think Burrow's going to be very good. Peyton Manning had an interception problem his first year. It's just what it is. Even the great ones, we've been spoiled a couple times here lately. But I think even a great season from Burrow, there's going to be turnovers. It's a learning curve, and the Chargers defense is legit. So if you can grab them, I think that's a good one. So we're going to hit you with this overtime. This is where we're going to be asking fan questions. Did any come in on YouTube? I know it's early on a Wednesday.
We just got one. Came in from our friends at Sports Caffeine.
Ooh.
They're
Bushman,
asking.
hello.
Yes, good people over there. Hope we can see them at a league event again when things
Yeah.
get normal after this pandemic is finally over. Anyways, before I get in on tangent, Cody, he asks, would Hollywood Brown be a reliable flex this week? I'll go ahead and address it.
Yeah.
I think he could be somebody you could bet on. I don't like the Brown. I don't know where the status of Greedy Williams is at, but that secondary took some hit with the injuries to Greedy Williams in camp, and with I know they added Ronnie Harrison, but Grant Delpit's a major loss because they were going to use him in a variety of ways. So I always have my worries with Hollywood Brown with how many targets he's going to get, but I feel like if you feel like you have a safe floor throughout your starting lineup and you want a high ceiling a boom type of player in your flex, I think Hollywood Brown wouldn't be a bad guy to put in your lineup this week.
And he's one of those guys, right? It takes one or two plays from a guy like that to have a huge fantasy day. And with that beat up secondary in Cleveland, I think he has a good game this week. I would feel plenty fine rolling him out in my flex. So again, I saw that our number one super fan Jay is in the house too, so hi Jay, want to give you a shout out. Again, since we didn't have a lot of questions early on, first episode of the season, Wednesday morning, I should be in bed, you should be in bed too, or at work. But let's talk really quickly about some things to remind the folks. The first being, again, flex position. Thank you, Bushman, for making this transition easy. Remember to put those in the latest games in your flex position in case news happens or in case something happens you need to make a change. That's going to be the first piece of advice I give you, is to always keep the latest games in your flex position so that you can move things around. It doesn't matter if you have Tyreek Hill as a wide receiver or a flex. He's still going to get you the same amount of points, even though he's the first game. I know that was a bad example, but you know what I mean. Start your late games in the flex. Cody, you got any tips, tricks, reminders for the people out there, or those that may be new to fantasy football?
I know it's kind of too late because most people did their drafts, but when I was talking about the waivers, make sure you watch the waivers. Project people for future starting lineups. I always try to build my bench for guys that are going to potentially have a bigger role towards the end of the season, because history says somebody in your lineup is either going to get hurt, somebody in your lineup is probably going to maybe get benched or lose a percentage of their roles. It depending on who is in your lineup. So I always say with your bench, plan ahead. But you should always keep at least maybe one or two guys on your bench that as emergency fill-in guys that already have a solidified role in their offense. But try to have like maybe two or three bench guys that are like future picks. And because the thing is, if they don't work out, you can always swap them out the next week.
Right, speculate, right? Because if you wait until they blow up, then you have to pay that increased price rather than snatching someone off the waiver wire because you've been watching the Twitter feed, you've been watching the news, you've been watching Fantasy Voyage, wink, wink. So again, like he said, make sure that you're speculating on those. Don't just stick with a big name, right? Or don't just stick with your handcuff for 6 and 8 weeks. Unless you're sold that that's the guy, don't just give up a spot, right? Like, be competitive with each and every spot, just like a real NFL team. So, any more advice for him before we get on out of here, my man? Don't play against Cody because he'll win. There's some advice.
Yeah. Nothing really off the top of my head. I will say this. I know Rob feels the same. We've done this tangent before. But just because you might start off bad, don't give up.
Oh, worst.
First of all, it's annoying to deal with if there's a person not updating their lineup. But a couple things, like I've always tell the story. Like there's one year, way back when, and it's a long time ago. But I started like 0-4, and then my buddy started like 0-5. And guess what? We both met in the championship game. So it's never too late to turn around your season, go on a run, squeeze into the playoffs, because all you need is a shot. Because we already know I've number one team, most points, and then my team shits the bed. in the playoffs. So all you need to do is get in. So keep it up. And plus, if you're in a money league, like why would you not want to spoil other people's seasons?
Right.
So like I've been there before. Like I know I'm out of the playoffs, but I want to beat because I'll look at the standings like, ooh, if I beat this guy, he might miss the playoffs too. So
right.
be that.
Play spoiler. And if you
Yeah,
are in a money league, a way to prevent that is the high points per week. I love that, right? Because even if you don't have a shot to win money at the end, you got a shot to win some money week to week.
That's what we're doing in most of my leagues. We've done it where, there's one year where I led the league in in points for the regular season, but I missed the playoffs because I also had the most points scored against.
Right, yeah,
so,
that's that bad luck tax. So, but again, you get a shot to win some money still.
Yeah. And then my league with my cousin, we do a weekly where it's if you're the top point scorer, you're going to get some money, but if you're the lowest point scorer, you're going to put money in.
There you go.
So,
yeah, I like that. I like that one. So
there's ways you can get around it.
Yeah, just don't be a jackass. Don't let 1 or 2 weeks keep you from playing because you affect the fun of everyone else in your league. Even if it's not your buddies. If you're in a rando league, it's just not cool. Be cool, okay? Be cool. 2020 sucked enough without you sucking too.
Right.
So we're going to go and I'm going to turn it over to you, man. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You see it there. Thanks for watching. But Cody, I'm going to turn it over to you. You have the floor. Say your goodbyes. Plug what you'd like to plug, man.
Yeah, and I just want to thank anybody that tuned in live to this edition. Now, keep in mind, if you guys are too busy on a Wednesday morning, this will always be on our YouTube channel for you to watch at a later time. The audio version will always be on the Blitzalytics Podcast Network, so subscribe to us on any major platform. We're on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, FanStream Sports, where our buddy Sports Camping is at. So we're on their streaming platform as well. So there's a lot of ways you can listen to this show when you're working. Of course, I know if anybody's been listening to our shows on Blitz, we're going to always push this thing because it's our baby.
Always, man.
The Prospect Encyclopedia. It's amazing. Look how thick it is, guys. It's on the players from the last 3 draft classes.
I'll be right back. You keep pitching.
You're fine. From the last 12 regular season starts or less. So it's especially a way if you are a dynasty player, it is a way that you can project those lineups like I was talking about earlier, get to know the under-the-radar guys that are on these teams. So the hard copy, this thing, it's like a textbook. It's $35. You can always get the full PDF on blitzalytics.com/shop for $15. If you even just want a taste of it, you can get an individual NFL team PDF for $5 if you want to go ahead and invest the $35 into the full book. But trust me, it's definitely worth it. A couple other things, guys. As you can tell, we're going more live shows, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you know when we go live. A couple shows that I'm involved with, the Football Happy Hour. We're always live Tuesday nights around 9 p.m. Eastern. That's me, Rob. It's also Jack Bourgeois and Roy Countryman. It's just kind of a fun, laid-back show. We do kind of get into some football stuff, but we try to keep it light, have some fun, and like we did last night, like I was talking about earlier, we got a team we're rooting for, the Buffalo Bills. So tune in to see us either enjoy it or hate it this year.
It feels like, again, a bar talk, right? That's what we try and keep this bar conversation. So,
another thing I want to bring up is Cody Talks NFL. It's my Twitter handle. Give me a follow, but that's also my individual podcast. I'll be live Friday mornings around this same time on Friday mornings. Basically, I cover all 32 teams. It's going to be game previews, but if there's any relevant news that I can talk about your team that week, I'll bring that up. So look out for me on Friday mornings to come on the YouTube channel. The Bucks beat writer. Bucks are going to be a hot team this year, so look out for my top 5 things I want to see from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then that's it for my content. And then other than that, make sure you always follow Blitzalytics on our Facebook and our Twitter so you can get updated articles. And I think I promoted a lot there, Rob.
You did.
So I'll let you take it.
You did earn the paycheck that you're not getting today. Like you said, get them $5 individual teams. I'm telling everybody, man, you buy the team PDF, you buy a foot long at Subway, you spent $10 and you've got an evening full of fun. So, also, I'm going to show this off here. we haven't had a chance to show these off. You see that there?
Oh,
the nice Blitzalytics
Pretty.
all-white helmet, the ice version, made by our buddies over at 417 Helmets from here in the Springfield, Missouri area. If you guys ever want one of these, you hit me up. These are a hot commodity amongst the Blitz crew. We'll get some of those as well. So I want to thank those guys. Got some t-shirts over at buyjack.com /collection/Blitzalytics. You can also do /Rob Graphics and find some too. So we're just going to sell you everything because that's what we do here. No, I'm just playing. All the content is free, right? No paywall. That's got to be nice. Follow Blitzalytics for all this great content with no paywall. It has been a pleasure to be back with you again, Cody. This feels more natural than the fantasy football hot seat because even when we argue, it's a short spurt and we're like, you got a point, and then kind of move on. So it feels better to do it this way. You can follow me at Rob Graphics on Twitter. We look forward to coming to your house this way every Wednesday, like what you said. Between now and then, we get more of you guys tune in live, and we guarantee you time.
We are entrepreneurs, so sometimes people have late nights. Sometimes we have slow starts.
4 a.m. trying to get everything ready for this. Like,
I was up late getting the script done. I woke up early, get a cardio in, and now I have to get my day going with the other side gig. So it's nonstop for us guys, but we do appreciate
the hustle. Never quits, baby. The hustle never takes a day off. So,
and that's why we appreciate anybody that tunes in live, anybody that has bought the encyclopedia. And we'll provide the free content as long as you guys keep on investing into us.
There you go, man. It's been awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Fantasy Voyage presented by Blitzalytics.com. We look forward to talking to you next week. You guys have a good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your captain speaking. You are now aboard the Fantasy Voyage Express. Time to pack your bags and let us take you on a journey to victory. Come on, y'all, let's take a ride. You ain't gotta say a word, just slide inside. It's time to take your ass on another kind of trip, cause you ain't at the top if you don't got the shit. Grab some chips and a drink to sip and close your eyes and hit that switch. We're going to a place where everybody kick it. Yeah, Blitzalytics. Ain't no friends and there ain't no simping, cause there ain't no team about to catch me tripping. Do you gotta get a stack or a third tier back? We got you covered all season to the ship from the draft. Take you to a place where you get that win, give you more than enough to defeat your friends. And if you can't take the heat, get your ass out the kitchen. We on a mission. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slippity slide. When it's all up on the line, we can ease your mind. Come along.